Go, Q. Attaboy, G-Money.
Welcome back to On to John. This is the regular season finale. And before John takes over this desk, I'm going to give you our Power 10, the final Power 10 for 2021. At number 10, Christian Brothers. They sneak back in at 6-4. Number 9, Brighton, also 6-4. Number 8, MUS, 6-4. And number 7, the Rosemark Rebels. Tipton Rosemark, good job out there, going 6-3. At number 6, ECS. Our preseason number 1, we kind of missed it a little bit, but still a solid season. Let's see what they can do in the playoffs. Number 5, an impressive Mumford Cougar team, the Region 858 champions at 8-2. Number 4, also 8-2, and they beat Mumford, Covington Chargers. Number 3, Germantown Red Devils at 8-2. Only 2 losses they had this year were two quality teams. Number 2, the Briarcrest Saints at 9-1. Went up to Ainsworth, lost a tough one. So that leaves one team. A team that finally is number 1, and the number 1 when it counts the most, the Carville Dragons at 10-0. They are our Power 10 champions. And the good Lord's willing, we'll see them in December with a presentation. Maybe we might be presented with something else in addition if they have a good playoff run. Now that's our Power 10 for the year, and let's get on to John.
All right, guys, my first point this week will be some games from last week that were kind of interesting for a lot of people. And, you know, let's give Covington some 55-6 over Bolton. They kept on running the ball pretty well. Looks like their running game is back up over 400 yards against Bolton. Chris Murray 56, same at 21, but Chris Murray's got the playoff spot. They wanted to, you know, they made the playoffs. That's the most important thing. Brentwood Academy 30, MUS 28. The key game in that one was MUS still threw the ball over 300 yards passing and just fell short. And then Mumford Cougars 30, Central 29. And a field goal kick at the buzzer prevailed to Mumford to win back-to-back region champions. So congratulations to Jordan Bell and the Mumford Cougars in their region title. Alright guys, my next point this week, I'm having 2 special guests. Mark Healy of the Millington Central High School PA announcer. He does it all from Millington High School, from PA to stats to just being around that program for 30 plus years. And then Matt Cooper, who does Bartlett Radio, and talk about the Bartlett High School football season. I know they fell short, not making the playoffs this year, so we're going to talk a little bit about Bartlett High School football from this past season. Guys, Matt Cooper, first of all, thank you for joining me. I know you do Bartlett High School Radio. Just talk about what you do for Bartlett High School first.
We've been broadcasting football, basketball, baseball for 20 years now. Just try to be involved, get the student athletes' names out there, and just want to make them feel big time. And you know, because they work really hard at what they do, what they enjoy, and we just want to make make a big deal out of our kids. So,
Mark Healy from Millington High School. Appreciate your time. And what do you do?
You name it, I do it. I haven't told anybody no yet. Started off doing PA 1991, I guess, my first year. Did football and baseball, added basketball the next year. I've done wrestling. I've done volleyball and soccer. You know, you name it, I do it. Stats, PA. Have done TV before. We used to air the games and put them on tape delay. That was fun. A lot like Matt. It's what you do to get the kids' names out there. It's there are so many of the kids that aren't going to get to play at the next level.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But they can be a really good high school player, but just might be 5'7", 160 pounds, which they can be a really good high school player, but that's not going to cut it on the next level.
You know, especially when there's like walk-ons from like Alan Cross days to Anthony Miller, who played at Christian Motors, to Robert Giamma, who's now playing well, is finally getting some action at that college level, who maybe thought going into the season he might have got redshirted. But also Mark Weaver, who's had a okay season so far is the senior year at who played at Bartlett, who's playing at Memphis, and this is his final year, who finally earned that scholarship at Memphis, So when y'all do that radio for Bartlett High School, to publicize these names out there, like you said, Matt and Mark, it gives these college coaches a chance to listen, go to y'all's stats and look at y'all's stats and say, who can I reach out to regarding certain players,
Yeah.
You know as well as I do, and you never know where people are tuning in from. And you have such a, at one time we were probably close in size in high schools, and now Bartlett's 3 times as big as Millington, but you've got such an alumni base that there are people watching you online from all over, and we've sort of gotten the same thing as we've done games this year. And one of the coaches' moms actually lives in New York, and she watches the game every week. And so it's that way to be able to connect to people and bring a little something.
Yeah, that's what's special about it. It's not. It is. I mean, at the core, getting your kids' names out there, but also it's that civic pride. It's taking pride in where you're from, your community, your school, whether it's Bartlett or Millington or whoever. And I know the folks at Millington are, so involved, and just like in Bartlett, everyone's so involved, and positivity and just building up all you can build up, and that's important just on a civic note, because it goes beyond just sports. That's just being a part of your community and lifting up your community, and that's just something that we all need to be doing wherever we live. And so that's it's critically important, I think, to be involved in that way.
Man, I want to talk about Bartlett High School's football season. So they finished the year 5-5, and people could say maybe a little bit of disappointment just the way they finished the year by not scoring at times, not finishing in the red zone at times. But when you graduate 32 seniors from last year's squad, and then you're back in the 6A class with the Germantowns, the Whitehavens, the Houstons, the Arlingtons, the Cordovas, and etc. Just talk about the season so far, how Bartlett did this season. I know last year was like a semifinal finish, losing the way they did. But talk about that season that Bartlett had.
Yeah, last year, you had a tremendous senior class. Again, you graduated a lot of talented guys, and Bartlett went as far as they had ever gone. Actually, they had been to the semifinal 20 years ago, my senior year of high school, and got just blasted by Nashville and Glencliff. And then last year, they played a game that's nip and tuck and belonged on the field. And you could tell it was a difference in the way Coach Tucker and his staff were coaching those guys. They belonged on that field, just came up short. And this year, like I say, you had a lot of great kids. You graduated a lot of guys last year, and started off strong. 3-0. Played Pure Athletic, St. Benedict, Arlington. Took it to your rival, which anytime you play your rival and win in a big fashion, right. I don't care what year it is. That's something that people love. Then took on some tough teams. Played Lausanne at home, and Lausanne is double tough and then some. Biggest high school team I think I've ever seen, but had them. Then you play Germantown to get into your conference schedule, region schedule, and it was just, it was tough. Bartlett had a little trouble moving the ball through the air, particularly. And then when teams started to kind of figure that out, then it got a little bit harder to move the ball. But they never quit. That was one thing that I thought was important, is that in every game they continue to plug away at it, even when things started to slide a little bit. The Germantown game ended up being 28-0, and you look in the paper and think, oh gee, Germantown just blew them out of the water. That was a 7-0 game with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter.
Right. People
don't realize how close that really was. And so that team continued to fight and plug away. Ended at 5-5. Again, not I think what everybody would have desired, but again, in 20 years of doing Bartlett football, there have been a lot of wonderful, great kids come through the program, but there have been some pretty lean years over the last 20 years, and I can't tell you how many times that a 5-5 finish would have been something to build on. So, yes, it's not maybe where they wanted to end, but it's a solid ending considering what you had. Graduated, guys continue to plug away in such a tough league, and you got a lot of guys coming back now with a lot of experience. Some guys in secondary, I know Ramon Rinkin, I'm looking forward to seeing him keep on going. There's a 9th grader, Jaron Johnson, coming in as a running back, who, as he continues to grow, is going to be a spectacular back. So a lot of promising pieces for the Bartlett Panthers coming forward.
And Mark, we talked about in the preseason, Millington's probably one of the youngest teams in the Shelby County area. Just to make the playoffs in general with this year's Trojan team, with getting some quality wins like last week against Bolivar, just competing every game. I know some of the games got affected by COVID and whatnot. Let's talk about the Trojan season.
You know, it's been an interesting 5-6 years since Millington formed its own school district because the boundaries changed the number of players and athletes that are coming into Millington. So there were years there that there were only 4 teams in the league, and you knew you were going to the playoffs, but you really didn't have any business being in the playoffs. We were able to put it all together in 19, which was Tommy Clifton's last year, and Reggie Caldwell, Adrian Dow, get a playoff win against Dyersburg before losing to Crockett County in the second round. But because you only had 3 other teams in the league, you had to go out and find games, and so you were having to play the Germantowns and the Dyersburgs and the ECSs and stuff like that you couldn't compete with because they had twice as many players as you did. This year it's sort of a little bit different. We keep dropping in size, but now we got back up into what I'll basically call big boy football because you're playing in a physical district with Covington, Dyersburg, Ripley, Bolivar, us, and Bolton.
Right.
And so you like the fact that your quarterback was coming back, who started as a freshman in McCoy Pugh. You like the fact that you had some other players around him, but going back to what you said about the youth, 35 of the 56 kids on the roster are freshmen and sophomores. And a lot of them don't have a lot of football experience. It makes it very tough to have to get that experience on Friday night. You can only get so much against the guys in practice that you're playing against. And then you see so many guys that are playing on Friday night, and then they turn right around and play getting JV ball on Mondays, just trying to get that experience there, and it's tough. We've got some dynamite young players. You know as well as I do, Millington's been a primarily running team its entire existence of history, and just started throwing the ball in the last 10 years. With that being said, McCoy Pugh is poised to, by the time he's done in 2 years, hold every passing record in school history. Some good, some bad. But you take that. You know, we've been fortunate over the last 10 years now that we've had 3 guys start as a freshman at quarterback and play there their entire high school career. First with Eldon Timms, then with Tommy Clifton. As long as McCoy doesn't get hurt, McCoy will be there. And then you got to work in the pieces around him. And we've got so many young guys that are so talented. Jonathan Temple Dowdy. Cortland Barnes is a senior. TJ Graves. We're talking about seniors, but there's guys that are getting their time. Javion Dodd. We've got a true freshman, and they're all freshmen. Cameron Puryear, who's the backup quarterback, but has really made an impact on defense at linebacker. So you like the pieces there. They're getting a little bit better. You take baby steps. You know, okay, we played Tresvant in the first round of the playoffs this Friday night. We're able to knock them off. We're going to probably get a rematch with Dyersburg. Maybe next year you go to the next round, and then by the time most of these kids are seniors, then you're talking about playing in the semifinals.
Right.
I think a lot of schools in this area need to be realistic about expectations. If you haven't been there before, how are you going to react once you get there?
Right.
Don't just say, well, we've got this, and this. We ought to be 10-0 every year and be playing for the state title. That's not realistic. Go to the first round with a young team. Go next year, put it all together, add some other pieces in, and you're good to go.
Like we talked about, overall, the Shelby County, I thought it did pretty well this year. With Harley and Millington combined, I thought they did pretty well. Guys, thank y'all for joining me for that segment.
Thanks.
All right, guys. With it being playoff edition this week, I've made it kind of short this week because I'm going to do the look ahead because it's going to be playoff time and there's a lot to cover.
John, are you trying to tell people you ran out of points?
No, I'm just saying that it's time for playoff edition.
You ran out of points.
No, I didn't. Anyways,
yes,
it's playoff edition. It's crunch time.
So you want them to
tune the records?
So you want them to tune into the playoff preview?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Because you ran out of points.
Nope.
Yeah, you did.
Nope.
Yeah, you did.
Nope.
Yeah, you did.